have run too much information. I have a camel robe at home.
Oh, yeah, that is.
And I told someone one time, they go, why do you wear that? I go, when I. Are we ready? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any announcements? John, who's with us electronically?
Mr. President, Tyler Conley is with us. He's with the 3M permit.
Oh, okay. Very good, sir. All right. Andy, welcome. Thank you. Young ladies, good to see you. Ms. Thompson, I will have questions for you later.
I'm sure you will.
Okay. So let's get going on this. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Public forum. Anybody wishing to speak? Is there anybody that, Mr. Engineer, anybody by chance? No? Okay. I'll get over it. Thank you. Here we go. Consent calendar. Do any of the managers have any items from the consent calendar that they would like pulled?
John.
No, sir. Rick, would you like to pull any items from the consent calendar?
Treasures?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Right.
pull the treasurer's report, please.
Very good, sir. Okay, we'll pull the treasury report. Don, any? Mr. Armstrong.
Nothing for me.
Okay, so I would like to pull item F. I have questions. And we're going to pull item J. So I would like to make a motion to approve items A, B, C, D, E, G, H, and I. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 That, those items are approved. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, let's go to item F for the reimbursement for the Lower St. Croix Valley Veterans Community Grant. Now, if you give me a sec, I'll dig through it here. I know I have it. That's what I get for being organized. Okay. Anyway, item F. Oh, here it is, yeah. The big question I have is the last time, which was last year, they had the proscribed burn. That was covered by Bellwing, correct? And they did it out of the grace, you know. So the big question I have is, we have a $2,086.60 invoice. And I was curious why, if you know, Mr. Engineer or Mr. Listen, you know, why they didn't use Belvin again, just out of curiosity.
Bellwin was not an option for the second year in a row. They had more funds on their agenda
Oh,
this year to cover.
okay. I guess outside of that, I don't have much else, so we'll have to go with it. And don't you get it, you know, let this go to your head or anything, but I love the way you've been formatting this stuff. I like the Latin names on the plants. It's all very good. And I'm seeing the territories or the yards, the areas that you folks are covering. Okay, so thank you for that. So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to approve item the reimbursement of the $2,086.60 to the Lower St. Croix Valley Veterans for a community grant. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's a moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 Okay, it is approved. Thank you, gentlemen. Rick, let's go to your treasurer report.
Okay, we have an addition, a late entry addition, for a $500 check payment for, Kim, Yuri, for a, I believe it was a plant grant. And we'd like to add that to the agenda. Or add that to the list so that people are aware of that. I saw documentation on it, in the email exchange.
Good enough for me. Would you like to make a motion, sir?
Yes, I'd like to move to approve item J with the addition of a $500 check for Kim Murray.
I will second your motion.
Okay,
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
It is approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Okay, we're squared away on that. Updates and requests for partners, volunteers. Andy, you're up. Welcome, sir. Thank you for attending. Perfect. Give me a run through.
All right.
You'll stay awake.
Um,
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna stay right here if that's all right.
Yeah, that's all right.
Here to present the results of the 2025 financial audit, which we completed a few weeks ago now, maybe a month ago. Overall, things went smoothly. I'll just kind of page through and point out a few things.
Yeah.
To highlight our opinion on the financial statements is in here. Do you want me to say page numbers to try to follow?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's page 7. The first paragraph of that opinions, that's what we audited. The second paragraph, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. So it's an unmodified opinion or opinion, the highest level of opinion that the branch can receive. Paging along, I will point out what I think may be of interest to you. Jump ahead to pages 14 and 15.
Okay.
The balance sheets of all of the funds. The one thing that's maybe a little bit different in that water quantity projects fund. And for the past several years, down near the bottom, there was a restricted fund balance, and that's zero now. And the restricted portion was the unspent bond proceeds, and those were all spent in 2025, and that was actually a good thing, to spend the rest of those up. And if you flip over onto pages 16, 17, therefore you see in that water quantity projects fund, the $2.5 million of capital outlay, that was the purchase of, that must have been 4 or 5 properties that occurred in 2025 as you planned, as part of the water plan there. So that fund, obviously the fund balance then went down, the cash balance went down in that fund. But overall, looking at the other funds, you remove that from the equation, all the other funds did show an increase in fund balance. Looking up into the revenue sections on that page, investment income, almost 340,000 in 2025. That compares to 419,000 the year before. Interest rates did come down a little bit in 25 as compared to 24, and they're farther down here in 2026, but still a healthy amount of interest earnings compared to previous years, 2020, 2021, when they're hardly earning anything in comparison, just because of what the market was at. But overall, we audited this information, verifying the numbers are correct and then the correct amounts, correct periods, and didn't find any significant adjustments that needed to be made. So good news there. Following that is the footnotes. There was page 26. Just point out that's your footnote on long-term debt or the 2 outstanding bonds Everything's on track with that debt. The payments are being made on time as scheduled. The drainage bonds of 2019A mature in 2030, and then the 2020A bonds don't mature until 2041. Everything's on track, and there is sufficient funds in the debt service fund to make those payments. Following this are,
Excuse me, Andy. for
Yes.
a second. Rick, we're gonna have that paid before 2041, right?
The schedule,
Go with
is
the
what it
schedule.
is, yeah, yeah. And I mean, it'd be pretty hard to have it really pay it off because of the interest rate that we're at. We're
Yeah.
at somewhere around 2%. And it's gonna be, there'll be a positive cash flow from the annual interest just alone on that, so paying it off early doesn't
Doesn't make
really
sense.
pay, isn't worth it.
That's fine judgment, sir.
Mhm.
Right on. Please continue, Andy. Thank
all
you.
right,
I'm not sure if I'll be still on the board in
Don't talk like that.
all right, there is a page 31, there's a budget actual comparison for the general fund, there's a required statement there. But it does show really the revenues are quite a bit higher than budgeted because of the investment income. And then presented our individual comparison, comparative statements for all of the funds following that. Next, we'll flip forward to page 45. You can't actually see the number in there, but it's the report on internal control. So that's related to the financial policies and procedures. We're looking at those as we design the audit, as we plan the audit. What we're looking for is any deficiencies that may exist in internal control, such as lacking approval of expenditures or not coding items properly, approval of monthly financial packets, that's an internal control. So we did not note any deficiencies in internal control. Also been commenting at these types of meetings lately. We hear about a lot about fraud in the news.
Yeah.
An audit is not designed to specifically detect fraud. Audit is designed to, if there are misstatements in the numbers that are material significant, that's what an audit is designed to do. Is if there's fraud that's really outside of this financial statements, it'd be great if we caught it, but the chances are pretty low just because that's not the scope of an audit. But a strong system of internal controls, and there are no internal control deficiencies that we noted. It's those checks and balances that help prevent fraud. So there's definitely a correlation there. So no deficiencies in internal control is definitely a good thing.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. Well, we get it. And if something goes wrong,
I know.
you guys go down.
First, it's a question for the auditors, right? Yep.
Right. Very good, sir.
The next report, the Minnesota Legal Compliance Report, that we have page 47.
Okay.
That is the state auditor issues a guide of a variety of compliance for a variety of statutes that must be followed. And we test for compliance with those statutes as part of the audit. We did have one finding this year. Now that you've moved into using a broker for some sort of some investments, that broker has to acknowledge annually that they understand the state statutes relating to investments, as well as if you have an investment policy that needs to be supplied to them annually, and they need to acknowledge that on this broker certification form. And that was not done, but now, once you learned of that, the form was obtained for 2026.
Okay.
In reality, the broker that you deal with for the 4M fund, they're aware of the Minnesota statutes, so the risk of actual non-compliance of the broker going out and purchasing stocks on your behalf is just almost zero. But
Mhm.
yeah, follow the statutes, and we discussed that, so you're now on track, and that's been fixed.
And to comply with that, I sent our policy that we approved of in 2 or 3 years ago when we started with 4M. So, yeah.
Very good.
All right, so that's what's contained in the bound annual financial report. In my version, there's also a communication with those charged with governance letter. I think it's loose in your version because it's not actually part of the financial report. This is a summary of required discussion topics from the auditor to the managers. Really nothing all that sensitive in here. I do we're required to call out what I think is the most sensitive footnote, and that's the one I pointed out on debt. Not that there's anything wrong with that, I just think if you have a page of the footnotes, that's probably the most meaningful one. And then on the bottom of page 2 of that letter, there's a paragraph on unspent bond proceeds. The first paragraph really is a roll forward from last year. As of December 31st, 2024, Valley Ranch had approximately $1.5 million of unspent bond proceeds. Certain stipulations related to how those monies could be spent. And during 2025, the remaining proceeds were spent in accordance with Valley Ranch's flood mitigation plan. And the rest of that letter really just defines our responsibilities over the various parts of the financial statements. But overall, just the one minor blemish, which has been taken care of, but another successful audit. Thank you for working with Red Path, and be happy to answer any questions.
Andy, thank you very much. We appreciate your attendance. Do any of the managers have any questions for Andy? I'll speak at once. Okay. With that said, clean bill of health. Do we need to do anything about this, Mr.?
Normally, you pass a motion to approve the audit.
You want to approve that?
Thank you. I was gonna ask you next, Council.
I was waiting my turn.
I would also like to say thank you to Andy and his staff for working through the process and communicating with people about what needs to be done. So doing a good job on that.
Welcome.
All right, sir. Would you like to make a motion, Rick?
I would like to make a motion to accept, approve the Valley Branch Watershed District Annual Financial Report.
I will second that motion.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Andy. You can resume your evening activities.
Right, I will do that.
Appreciate
Get
it.
home.
In the neighborhood.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
Good. Thanks.
Have a good night.
You need to still confirm you've sent that off to the state, or you will send it off to the state.
Yes, yep.
We're good.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Item B, $10,000 shoreline restoration grant. Ms. Erin McDowell, and the $10,000 restoration grant to Robin McDowell. Sisters by chance?
Sisters
That is
and
fine.
neighbors.
Neighbors and sisters, I get that. I've got a couple of questions here. John, please explain this to us briefly. Give us an overview.
I guess I prefer that Lissa. I know you're
Miss Lissa.
most familiar with it.
Take it away, please.
Overview, these are two lots right next to each other along Kellis Creek. Just west of downtown Acton on 36th Street in a little cul-de-sac. I first met with Erin McDowell 2 years ago in the fall to discuss shoreline restoration options.
Yeah.
And she is now ready and excited to move forward and has decided she'd also like to convert most of her yard to prairie adjacent to her stream restoration. Her sister's also very excited to start on her portion of the shoreline. But hers is more wooded and more covered with buckthorn and some undesirable tree species, so will require a lot more labor intensive prep work. But she's looking to restore her portion from where it meets with Erin McDowell through the driveway.
Okay. Is there a component here about phosphorus removal? But I see something equally or more important with what's happening here. This is something that we've been working on, and I've been up and down that ravine, no ticks. And it's important to us. Please continue, because I've got more on this.
I did not do a phosphorus reduction calculation because the shoreline grant isn't tied specifically to phosphorus.
Thank you.
So I didn't do that calculation.
Okay, sir.
The stream stabilization, assuming it works,
Yeah.
slows the rate of sediment delivery to the St. Croix River, which is a really big thing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So. Do any of the managers have any questions? I have a couple. They're general. But I noticed that, so for me, as a layperson, the justification is Kells Creek. This is important. As I said before, I've been there, and we want to prevent or reduce erosion and create a better habitat, environmental upgrade that we need. So I assume the trees are being protected, the trees are being planted. I didn't see this, probably my fault, sizes.
So the trees that are being planted will be protected from like deer and herbivores and all
Right.
that, yep. There was a range of sizes that were proposed. I believe most of them were 2 to 5 gallon pot trees that I would
Okay.
have to refresh my.
So they're gonna be like 2 to 5 feet tall,
Yeah, somewhere around there.
maybe. Okay.
Mhm.
The concern is that I think there's some quercus, and not to get technical on it, from oak and some of these other items. And the concern, of course, that we're gonna get damaged, and so that leads me to a big question, and that is inspection. Is this if and when?
Yes, this will be inspected by the conservation district or the watershed district as part of the regular inspections that we do.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know how long it's gonna take for it to mature to the point where it's that the growth is helping to prevent erosion
Mhm.
or minimize it. Sir,
I just have a question about our shoreline program. When we approved that, I had this vision of along the lake, lake shoreline. I like this. In my mind, this is a stream bank stabilization
Yeah.
project, not a shoreline state. But my question to John is, what we approved for the shoreline program, does this fit that? And I hope it does. But I thought I better ask the question.
yes, thank you. Yes,
Mr. President, Secretary Brockett does. The shoreline grant specifically lists the priority water bodies, which are, most of them are lakes, but it also lists Valley Creek and Kells Creek.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And Kells Creek has been targeted for years. We've had the impairment and the E. coli numbers, and so the area has quite a bit of erosion, so this is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody understands that. My questions were just based, as I said earlier, on making sure that when this is completed, that it's going to be checked on and they're doing the right thing, and I know buckthorn's waiting to come back and all that stuff, so
Yeah.
That's real important to us.
Yep, I think both these landowners are very motivated to do the right thing, and both of them will be investing a significant amount of their own money as well.
Yes.
And they will both be motivated to keep up with it.
Okay. But it does look good. Okay,
Where does this put us as far as how much money we've had budgeted for shoreline restoration for the year?
Vice President, Manager, I'm sorry, these would be the first ones for shoreline restoration.
Okay.
The packet does include
it
cost
does.
share tracking information.
We've got that amount number, and I think it's, I believe the budget, our total budget is 55,000, something on that order. Did I miss something? Or-
No, your total budget is 55,000, and if these are approved, all of the projects that were included this time, it would be $13,150 left in the budget.
That's our remainder.
Yes,
So it's gonna get real tight. I had a question about that. Then we're gonna scramble to, have projects that are within that limit. And then we'll determine if possible, if that's going to change. You know, if something else comes up, how we're gonna handle it. Yes, sir.
So for a number of things in the past, we moved money from pot to pot as we deemed necessary and justified to do so. These are great projects, in my opinion. I'm really excited. I was really excited when I read this. I don't want to know the amount of money that the residents are putting into this themselves out of their own pocket. My wife would grab me by an earlobe if I tried to spend this amount, even though I think it's fully justified, but, you know, and it does take a big bite, but I think it's well justified. And I mean, if we have something else come along later in the year, that's a really outstanding project, and the budget is low, and we just consider reallocating from some areas that we have surplus. That's been our practice anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and the projects tend to come in early in the year. So,
Okay,
we're probably, picking up a lot of that early and we see what
Yeah.
happens, as you say.
we're in
No,
the
there's
middle
something
of
that's
May, and it's gonna get tight from here, but we'll figure it out.
Melissa, do you have any other big projects coming down the pipeline?
there's, I met with one other shoreline landowner along Kells Creek, right along St. Croix Trail and 35th. And she's interested in doing a shoreline project. Everyone else I have met with has been more of a plant grant.
Oh. That's highly doable. You've got some of those in here. Yes, okay. All right. Do you gentlemen have anything further? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I would also make a motion to approve the stewardship grant request to, we're doing both here, Aaron McConnell and
Yeah,
Aaron McDowell and Robin McDowell.
Counselor, we could do both, right?
Yes, absolutely. As long as there's not separate discussion on each, if they're willing to take it together, that's great.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. I will second your motion. It's been moved and seconded.
All right.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
It is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Lisa.
you.
They will be
Okay.
very excited.
Very
Let me know
nice.
tomorrow.
Good, yeah. We want that. We want it to get beautiful. Okay. Let's move on to our next item.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I got everything needed for
What?
us, so
We don't get,
have a good night, everybody.
We don't
Thank
get
you.
Okay, see you later.
you get to sneak out on the rest of them? Oh, you do?
I do.
Darn. Thank you. Thanks, Alyssa. Have a good night. Okay. Administrator engineer. From 2026-06. Oakdale Surface Water Conversion. John, give us an overview of what's happening here, sir.
As president managers, this has been talked about at several meetings, and we
Yeah.
drove by the site on at least one of the summer tours that we did. The 3M company is proposing to divert runoff around one of their Superfund sites. The purpose is to reduce the amount of PFAS contamination draining downstream. So this project is in Oakdale at basically the headwaters of Raleigh Creek along the north side of old Highway 5, now South 14, is where they propose to run a pipeline and bring that pipeline to just the east side of the Quick Trip at Hadley Avenue and South 14. That pipeline would prevent water from draining through their site that's mostly south of the South 14 and west of the Holiday gas station in that area in the subway. So by doing that, they're changing the hydrology of the wetlands on their site. And so they have worked with the DNR and Valley Branch Watershed District as the local government unit responsible for administering the Minnesota Wetland Conservation Act to determine what those impacts to the wetlands are. As you can imagine, if you're diverting water away from a wetland, it's going to be drier than what it was prior to receiving that water. So that they've documented what those changes are. We've reviewed their model, not only for the hydrology changes of the wetland, but also for flood level, potential flood level changes of Raleigh Creek, because they're changing kind of the timing of when water would get into Raleigh Creek. Looking at rates, and the project does conform to the Watershed District's rules and regs as summarized and documented in the permit review memo. The question that we have really is regarding easements on this property. The project back in 2009, they did some work at the site, and at that time, the managers chose not to require easements over all the wetlands on the interior of their site because of reasons that are listed in the memo, that 3M owns the property and there's no intention of selling it, they're developing it, and has obligations with the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. It's a super fun site. And there's restrictions that the PCA has put on it. So based on those reasons, the managers did not require easement over the floodplains on the site. They still require easement over stormwater management. There's an infiltration basin that was constructed. So that's the consideration, the two motion options that are presented in the memo. One would be if the managers choose not to require the floodplain easements, and one would be if they choose to require the floodplain easement. If you're able to follow along in the construction plans, there's a large basin that's being proposed to the east of Quick Trip. And that area is basically a stormwater E&P. And so that one that we would suggest that the managers get an easement over. But the pipeline is generally within, I believe it's entirely within public right of way, either Washington County or MnDOT or City of Oakdale. So the real question is, do you want easements over all of the wetlands that the water is being diverted around?
Yes, sir.
There's one, as I read through that, there's one additional consideration that I didn't see discussed, and I'm not sure. Maybe a question for legal counsel, but given what this site is, do we accepting some liability if we have an easement on it? I mean, I just hands off.
That was my question too, and I have in the background, I have this. Well, PFAS obviously is such a nasty, sticky problem in so many ways, and we've already faced that accusations that Project 2007 has resulted in the conduit of PFAS going into St. Croix, so I think we just need to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll create liability because it just gives you the right to enter on, right? It just gives rights. It doesn't necessarily convey liabilities. But in my opinion, I looked at this, I talked a little bit with Suzanne just to make sure I'm up to speed. And to me, I don't really see any legal basis to change what you did before in 2009 and not require an easement over the floodplain. That just seems a little overreach. But to maintain an easement or some right, and maybe you don't want it by easement, you could just do it by agreement. some right to go over where the structures are, so you can inspect and make sure they're doing that. So if you get accused that something's going on in our district that's not, going, performing as it should, we have the right to enter on and make sure of that. So I think, and that's what I think is proposed in the motion where we adopt the 2009, but we have access rights. If you think the term easement is more than you want, and you just want a management agreement so that you have the right to ingress, egress, and inspect, you could do it that way. And it isn't, as I understand, really the practice of this watershed district, seems like this watershed district does have a practice of getting easements, but it doesn't mean it's actually required if we just want to make sure we maintain it. Otherwise, the typical action, as I understand this district, would be to get an easement just where the structures are, but not over the floodplain.
Very good. And there's no added liability. Those easements granted around the structures.
We're a municipality here, we're a public entity, and something's not going right, the public will turn to us, but I don't see that we'll have any liability that's any greater because we've looked at this, right?
Okay.
We're seeing somebody in our district trying to solve something. We're trying to give them the right to do that. They're being overseen on several levels. We're just trying to make sure it can happen so our wetlands aren't impacting it.
Okay. Thank you. Sir.
Question for our attorney. So 3M we're using basically two reasons for justifying not getting an easement. One being 3M doesn't plan to sell the property, and the other being this is a Superfund site, and there are a lot of other restrictions on it. Should we be concerned about including something about, well, 3M doesn't plan to sell it, having an impact down the road on other situations where, yeah, 3M's not planning to sell it, but, it could be that, somebody else says, well, I'm not planning on selling the property, so I don't need an easement. I'd rather not kind of get stuck into a situation like that where we're not able to kind of take action that would not be a valid reason by itself.
Yeah, and I get that, and I really don't know the answer to it, except that the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, when they have a site, there is some documents that they will generally require you to record. So they will then limit its use, can be sold to a daycare or a nursery school. I mean, they, as part of, John, you probably can speak to this better than I do. But it is a guess, and if you want us to look into it deeper, we will, that there are gonna be some restrictions on this land that's gonna be of record that aren't gonna be placed necessarily, don't need to be placed by us.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
it's gonna be noted and it's gonna be a
Mhm.
site, and any future buyer's gonna be put on notice of what this site has done. So I would expect that's gonna come from an outside entity. If you want it to come from this entity, we'd have to just understand what notice we're gonna give people and why. Otherwise, our goal is just to make sure what is there is doing what it's supposed to do without a negative impact on our district's wetlands.
Okay.
Counselor, you speak with a straight tongue.
Well,
I like it.
this,
Does it make sense to remove the part about 3M not planning to sell it?
well,
I mean, there's a justification there that I think.
you're absolutely right. I mean, I think it's really wise of the board to say, let's say 3M might plan to sell it. Are we still okay with what we have? That wouldn't be a bad test of the managers to say, we still feel, without that justification, are we still fine not getting an easement over the flood?
Or if 3M goes bankrupt, God forbid.
Absolutely.
Look
Yeah,
at it, you know.
I know we just had an announcement today, didn't we?
Yeah.
Lawsuit.
Yeah. Weird stories.
So I think that's what was put into place in 2009 was the basis, one of the reasons, because, and they didn't, obviously, look, it's been 17 years and it hasn't. But I think the managers say, okay, even if sold, are we satisfied that the part we have an easement over where the structures are, where we have the agreement to enter and check on it, will that be sufficient? And if that answer is still yes, then we don't have to worry about that justification of the sale.
Okay.
Nothing's changed. Right? Okay. Yeah, so that could be an unnecessary hassle. Look at it that way. So I'm gonna throw this one at you, Mr. Brock.
Looking for a motion?
Well, sort of, yeah, yes, that would be one thing, but what's your take on this?
I personally, I prefer option A, stick with what was done in 2009 and have the easement over the BMP area, which is, separate and not require the floodplain easement for this area.
Yes, sir, that sounds good to me. I see you're nodding in approval.
Yeah, I think that
Sure,
makes
sure.
sense.
Okay. Well then, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve permit 2026-06 with option A, the easement not required for the floodplain easement, but requiring easements for the BMP areas.
Thank you, sir. I will second that motion. It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
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 Okay. That is approved. Thank you, Counselor.
Sure.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody now. Okay. Valley Creek Mainstream Restoration Project. Recommendation to award project. So, Mr. Engineer, we do have that grant in hand.
Yes.
That's $462,000. And our our lowest bidder came in at 63% of that money. So what happens with the 37% that we have? We get to keep that or do something?
Well, there's also costs involved with working with the landowner, developing the plans and specs, doing the bidding, doing construction oversight, closing out the project and administering the grant. So
So it'll be higher than that.
you'll spend more than the 292.
Okay.
You've already spent a fair amount of money. It's been a long, difficult effort to get permits from the DNR on this.
Yeah.
There's quite a few rare and endangered species or threatened species in the creek, and the DNR has required surveys of certain caddisfly species, and that required that you kill the threatened endangered species to determine that they're there. And then they require monitoring post-project to determine that they're still there after the project.
After we kill them.
There's also rare and endangered plants that we will need to reestablish after the project and monitor that they have been established.
Right, it's a lot of work too. Okay. Sir,
Just a quick comment on the rare endangered species that, I've even seen fisheries have to jump through all sorts of hoops because of that, and it's just a little bit ironic that we're gonna go in and improve the habitat. There's gonna be some rare endangered species that are gonna take it seriously on the chin when you're gonna go in with heavy equipment.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, they're gonna have more habitat than they probably had for the project. So that's the important thing to keep in mind with this.
yes,
But my main concern was, low bid is great because it's saving money, but a little bit also for me raises a red flag. Is this company know what they're doing? Is there gonna be construction oversight when they get in and start doing the work?
Mr. President, Vice President Pereira, Sunram Construction has done quite a few stream restoration projects.
Okay.
We've worked with them, our engineers worked with them on stream restoration projects. We have no reason to say that they are not the lowest qualified bidder.
Okay,
And there will be construction oversight.
great.
and
That alleviates my concern.
they're gonna be coming in with backhoes. 2,000 cubic yards.
So they'll be excavating along the whole goal of the project is to reconnect the creek with the floodplain. So the project lowers the overbanks of the
Right.
stream, so that the water can not have to bounce up so high before it gets into a floodplain. And so they're excavating out a lot of that material and they're taking it to a site that Bellwin owns up near Lake Edith.
So is this the project related to a field visit with Hartwell a couple of years ago?
This is.
And if I recall, the property owner also agreed that there would be native plant restoration as part of this instead of keeping it mowed like a park upstream.
Mr. President, Vice President Kerr, yes, we do have an agreement with the landowner to not mow routinely. He'd still be allowed to mow occasionally. We'll need to work with him to protect these green endangered plants that will be planted by the Minnesota Landscape Arboretum.
And this is subjected to inspection?
Yes.
Post, construction?
As part of the permit with the DNR, they're required to, if we still haven't obtained them from the DNR. So we're crossing our fingers that we'll get the permit from the DNR
Okay,
on the rare endangered species. We have other permits from the DNR, but not all of the permits. But part of that permit, we expect requirement to be a 5-year monitoring plan.
but we do have the grant money.
We have the grant money expires the end of this calendar year. That's why we're crossing our fingers that the DNR is going to issue the permit. If not, we're gonna have to
Right,
do a lot of communications.
I got you.
Were you working with Scanlon on the permitting?
He's already issued his permit. This is through
Oh, this was Eagle Waters, yeah, okay.
the rare and endangered species program.
Okay,
So I will go ahead and move acceptance of the Sunramp construction bid and direct President Marchand and Engineer Hanson to proceed with the awarding process.
I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
I,
Aye.
it is approved. Thank you, Mr. Engineer. That seems simple enough. Okay. Attorney. Ms. Casey.
I understand the only thing that on the agenda regarding the attorney is something I'm gonna pass on when Tori gets back from Europe. I understand there are some issues with, and we pronounce the last name as a Geoffrey,
Jeffrey.
Geoffrey. That there's been some regular communication with him and that, I don't know, maybe even there's a check that might be given or at some point, but that Tori's been in constant communication and I believe we'll have an in-depth report at the next meeting. Of that for just passing it along. But I think it's moving along, so we're good with this. And that was really the only thing I was asked to discuss. So if anybody else has anything for me, give it a try.
Ms. Tracy, you exude confidence. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so far so good. So, nothing is required on this except an update as you,
Yeah, and really, it's been moving along and you should hear more.
thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, managers. Mr. Pereira. Do you have anything regarding the watersheds? Minnesota watersheds? I thought that we received an email from Mrs. Boyd about the tribal seminars that
Oh, sure, yeah, tribal training.
training.
Understand, yeah, we did a version of that in the DNR, and actually it was very good,
Okay,
so, I don't think we have big tribal issues, I don't know what happened with Prairie Island proposal to acquire property or whatever, but
anything from any of you gentlemen? Okay, I just have one comment. Back in the day, the Long Ranger, you guys remember Tonto? You would call him Kimosabe. Kimosabe means friend. And after 30 years, I found that out. So that's all I have. Okay. Rick, anything, sir?
Ed, just
Not for me.
before.
Yeah. Anything?
We already decided we don't have anything to submit for resolutions
Yeah.
at the June board meeting, the board of directors will approve the resolution package to move forward to that special annual meeting.
Okay.
And I will also state that special annual meeting in August. I will be in Africa, so we might need an additional delegate to cover for me.
Uh-oh. Hey, fellas. Here. Don't look at me.
Maybe there's a virtual connection, but I can't imagine what the times are.
Are you
It's
guys
like 7 or 8 hours forward, so,
you gonna be in camp with
yeah,
the satellite?
I might be getting run up a tree by a pride of lions, who
Yeah,
knows?
that could happen.
Yeah,
Okay. That's good to know. Rick, do you have anything, sir?
No, I don't.
Okay, that seems, simple enough.
Mhm.
Car share program, project tracking, we know about that, and, that was brought up about, the remaining amounts since, we approved this last project for $20,000. And our inspection report. I don't have anything except that I read through this. And if we have questions, do we direct them to you? And then you contact WCD about that?
That'll work.
Okay, that sounds simple. Do you gentlemen agree with that or?
I agree with that.
Yes.
One comment, is the, Silver Lake, outlet being, maintained? That's in who is doing that. I didn't see that on here. And
President Treasurer Gelman, we talked about that at our orientation meeting.
Mhm.
I'll check in with Nate Martin to see if he is doing that.
Thank you.
Good question. Yeah, I want to know if they're doing that sort of stuff. And if anything comes up, we'll contact you, of course, John, and then you can speak to them about any potential inspections or any flare-ups or a resident like a nice lady who called about that situation. You turn that over to the county, that situation on Lake Jane. And yeah. Yeah,
I discussed the concern that she had. It is what it is, and
Yes.
she's not going to be happy.
okay. All right. Nothing beyond that.
Situation.
I understand. Okay. All right. Do any of the managers have any comments on the inspection report? Okay. So. Future business and meetings, May 28th. Mr. Brock, you're not.
I'm planning to not be here and not be available
You're gonna be on the trail.
unless weather turns terrible and we postpone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be gone.
Nice. And June 11th. So we're all gonna be here. Okay. The 2026-2035 Watershed Management Plan Presentation to Board. That's the Bowser Central Committee, June 1st. How does that work, John? What's gonna happen then?
This President Greg Williams from our office would do a short presentation like what he presented about a month ago
And to them?
to you.
Oh.
I'll be attending. It
Okay.
might be nice if there were one manager or two present at that meeting.
Is it gonna be here?
No, it'll be at,
You're not
I
gonna
think
work?
it's at the board meeting location, which I believe is in the PCA's building on 520 Lafayette Road on the
Oh,
east
by
side
the-
of downtown St. Paul.
right by the DNR
Yes.
headquarters.
Mhm.
Okay, I can volunteer myself for that and please, give me ample notice and a reminder, please. And any of the other managers.
What time is it?
Time has not been set. Once their packet is sent out, I'll let everybody know. I think it'll be in the morning, but I don't know what time.
I have a dentist appointment, otherwise I'm free.
It'd be like that.
Yeah,
My wife just got back. She told me.
it's just a checkup, so hopefully I won't be like that.
Good. Okay. Also approved by the board, watershed resources, okay. Watershed management plan for possible approval by the board on June 24th. Explain that.
Yeah, so Mr. President, first, the plan gets presented to central committee. And that's on that June 1st. And
Okay,
they'll ask questions and possibly make some comments. They likely would hopefully recommend to the full board that the plan be adopted. So the full board meets on that June 24th. It's maybe similar to a planning commission and a city council where you have a committee that makes a recommendation to the larger full.
There's no recommended attendance by any of the managers for that.
I think that one's less critical. I think that, but that the committee meetings typically in the past, 10 years ago, I can't remember if the President Lucas or President Buchek, but attended that meeting.
I think it was Buchek, okay. Again, send out a reminder for that to me at the very least, and then to the other managers if they're interested. And also, whether it's critical or not, or, you know, if the situation changes and it might be to our best interest to attend.
Yeah, we'll have more information.
Yeah, exactly.
Support needed on May 20th.
Yes, sir. Okay, very good.
Okay.
And then finally, the Minnesota Watershed's Summer Tour, Detroit Lakes, August 25, 26. You're not. You're gonna be on another continent.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
very good. Okay, so I guess we could talk about that at the next meeting if it comes up, whatever. We'll figure that out. And I have one more item. Motion to adjourn.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Speaking of Detroit Lakes, on a sad note, I think everybody